First Contact's Price. Admiral Elena Santos stood at the viewport of Lunar Command, her weathered hands clasped behind her back as she studied Earth's pale blue sphere. 30 years in the United Earth Defense Force hadn't prepared her for this moment. No amount of training could have. "Play it again," she commanded, her voice steady despite the tremor in her chest. The holographic display flickered to life, filling the command center with an ethereal glow. The footage, recovered from a quantum vault buried 2 miles beneath the Mariana Trench, began its playback for the 100th time. Alien vessels, nearly invisible to conventional detection methods, hovering over every major conflict of the past century. Their presence coincided perfectly with escalations in violence, with seemingly random technological leaps, with unexplainable shifts in human behavior. The Meridian Collective, as they called themselves, had been conducting the largest social experiment in human history. They had been pulling strings, nudging humanity this way and that, measuring responses, calculating outcomes. "Status of Project Blackout?" Santos asked, though she knew the answer. She'd helped design it, after all. Dr. Kira Chen, the project's lead scientist, stepped forward. Her augmented eyes gleamed with a mix of pride and apprehension. "The quantum disruption field is ready, Admiral. Once activated, it will sever all of their observation posts' connections to their main collective. They'll be blind for approximately 73 minutes. And the Oracle fleet. All 6 vessels are primed, and their hybrid AIs are synchronized. They're as ready as they'll ever be." Chen paused, choosing her next words carefully. "Admiral, are we certain this is the right course of action? The Meridian Collective is centuries ahead of us technologically. If we strike first." Santos turned from the viewport, fixing Chen with a gaze that had commanded respect across 3 continents. "They've been manipulating us for over 100 years, Doctor. Every war, every major technological breakthrough. They'd been running experiments on us like we're lab rats. The question isn't whether we should strike. The question is, what kind of humans would we be if we didn't?" The command center hummed with activity as final preparations were made. The Oracle fleet, humanity's secret weapon, waited in the shadow of Mars. 6 ships unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. While the Meridian Collective relied on pure AI systems, humanity had done what it did best. They'd found a third option. The Oracle ships were piloted by a revolutionary hybrid system that combined human consciousness with quantum AI, creating something entirely new. "Message from Oracle 1. Announced Lieutenant Park from his station. Captain Morgan reports all systems are synchronized and combat-ready." Santos nodded, feeling the weight of history pressing down on her shoulders. "Send the go code. Initiate Project Blackout." Across the solar system, carefully hidden quantum transmitters activated simultaneously. The effect was immediate and devastating. The Meridian Collective's network of observation posts, previously invisible to human detection, suddenly lit up like Christmas trees as their quantum communications were forcibly severed. Multiple contacts emerging from stealth. Park's voice carried across the command center. 17 collective vessels detected, ranging from observation class 2. "Admiral, we're reading 3 warships." Santos allowed herself a grim smile. "Right on schedule. They're responding exactly as predicted. Lieutenant, patch me through to Oracle Fleet." The holographic display shifted, showing the determined faces of the 6 Oracle ship captains. Captain Jane Morgan of Oracle 1, her neural interfaces glowing softly along her temples, spoke first. "Ready to show them how humanity fights, Admiral." "Remember your training," Santos replied. "The collective relies on predictable, logical responses. Their AIs will expect us to either retreat or launch a frontal assault. They don't understand human intuition, and they certainly don't understand how we've combined it with AI. Hit them with the Thermopylae Gambit." The Oracle fleet moved with impossible coordination. The hybrid systems allowed them to think and react as one while maintaining the unpredictability of human insight. As the collective warships approached, expecting either submission or a suicidal charge. The Oracle fleet did something entirely unexpected. They scattered. To the collective's eye commanders, it appeared to be a panicked rout. Their tactical systems predicted a 99.97% chance that the human vessels would attempt to flee back to Earth's defense perimeter. The alien warships moved to intercept, their weapon systems charging. That's when the Oracle fleet revealed humanity's true capabilities. The 6 ships executed a maneuver that the collective's AIs had deemed mathematically impossible. Using their hybrid navigation systems, they performed a synchronized quantum slip, jumping through space in a way that defied conventional physics. They reappeared in a 3-dimensional spiral formation around the collective fleet, their weapons already firing. Multiple direct hits, Park reported, excitement breaking through his professional demeanor. Their shields. Admiral, their shields aren't designed to handle kinetic weapons. The quantum disruption is preventing them from adapting. On the tactical display, Santos watched as humanity's carefully planned counterstrike unfolded. The Oracle fleet had been built around a simple principle: don't fight the way they expect you to fight. While the collective relied on energy weapons and quantum shields, the Oracle ships used railguns firing smart projectiles at near-relativistic speeds. While alien AIs calculated responses based on logic, human intuition guided by AI precision created patterns too chaotic to predict. Oracle 3 reports critical damage to the largest collective warship, Park announced. Their primary systems are failing. They're powering down weapons. The remaining collective vessels attempted to regroup, but the damage was done. With their quantum network disrupted and their tactical assumptions shattered, they found themselves facing an enemy that seemed to break every rule of conventional space combat. This is Admiral Elena Santos of the United Earth Defense Force. To all Meridian collective vessels, Santos broadcast on all frequencies. Your observation posts have been neutralized. Your experiment is over. You will withdraw all forces from the Sol system immediately, or we will demonstrate just how creative humans can be when we're truly motivated. For several tense moments, there was no response. Then, a transmission cut through the silence. The holographic image that appeared showed a being of crystalline structure, its faceted surface reflecting light in patterns that seemed to form words as much as its actual speech. Impossible, the collective representative stated. Your species was contained, controlled. How did you achieve this level of advancement without our guidance? Santos stepped forward, her voice firm. That's the problem with your kind. You think everything needs to be controlled, guided, manipulated. Humanity thrives on chaos. We grow stronger when challenged. Every time you pushed us down, we got back up smarter and more determined. You didn't create our advancement. You just gave us a reason to accelerate it. The crystalline being shifted, its patterns displaying what might have been confusion. The experiment must continue. The data. The experiment is over. Santos cut in. Here are your options. Leave our system now and prepare to receive our diplomatic delegation to discuss reparations for your interference, or stay and discover exactly how many other surprises we've developed while you thought you were studying us. The collective vessels began powering up their engines, but not to fight. One by one, they retreated, leaving behind only the disabled warship as evidence of humanity's victory. As they disappeared into quantum space, Santos finally allowed her shoulders to relax slightly. Dr. Chen, she called out, how long until we can adapt the quantum disruption field into a defensive shield for the entire solar system? Chen was already working at her station, her augmented eyes processing data streams. With what we've learned from this encounter, 2 months, maybe less, they won't be able to observe us without our knowledge ever again. Santos nodded, turning back to the viewport. Earth seemed different now, not just a home to protect, but a launching point for humanity's next great adventure. Send word to the UN Security Council, she ordered. Tell them Phase 1 is complete. It's time to begin Phase 2, reaching out to other species who might want to break free from the collective's guidance. She smiled slightly. After all, humanity has always had a soft spot for underdogs. As the command center erupted in carefully controlled celebration, Santos watched the tactical display showing the retreating collective ships. They had just learned what countless others throughout human history had discovered. Attempting to control humanity was like trying to hold back the tide with your hands. Sooner or later, the water always finds a way through. And humanity had just begun to flow. The silent strike. The captured Meridian warship hung in high orbit above Mars, its crystalline structure no longer gleaming with its former brilliance. Captain Jane Morgan walked through its alien corridors, her neural interfaces picking up data streams that the collective never intended humans to access. Each step revealed more about their would-be manipulators, and each revelation made her blood boil. They'd done this before. She sub-vocalized to her ship's hybrid AI, Oracle. The quantum-enhanced consciousness that shared her thoughts processed the information streaming through her neural links. Not just to us, to dozens of species. Correct, Oracle responded in her mind. The ship's databases contain records of 47 different civilizations that have been subject to collective experimentation. 28 of those species are currently listed as contained. The others. There was a pause, something Oracle had learned from its human components. The others were deemed unsuitable for advancement and were deliberately guided toward societal collapse. Morgan's fists clenched. She'd interfaced with Oracle long enough that the AI could detect the spike in her emotional state. They played God, she whispered, decided who lived and who died based on their precious data. The collective's primary directive appears to be the accumulation of sociological knowledge through controlled experimentation, Oracle noted. They view it as a purely scientific endeavor. Well, they're about to get a lesson in human science, Morgan replied, reaching the ship's central control chamber. Specifically, chaos theory. The chamber was a marvel of alien engineering, designed for beings that had long since abandoned traditional interfaces in favor of pure quantum consciousness. But humanity had learned to bridge the gap between organic and digital existence in their own unique way. Morgan's neural interfaces lit up as she merged her consciousness with Oracle, their combined awareness spreading through the captured ship's systems. Back on Earth, Admiral Santos was addressing the United Earth Security Council. The holographic chamber allowed representatives from every major nation to attend virtually, their avatars indistinguishable from physical presence. The Meridian Collective hasn't retaliated yet because they're still processing what happened, Santos explained. Their entire worldview is based on control and predictability. We didn't just defeat their ships, we shattered their assumptions about how developing species should behave. And now you want to shatter more of their assumptions. The Chinese representative leaned forward. By attempting to contact these other contained species. We already have. Santos gestured, and a new hologram appeared in the center of the chamber. It showed a star system 40 light-years from Earth, where another civilization had been trapped behind quantum barriers, similar to what the collective had planned for humanity. The Araxians, a species of silicon-based sentients who achieved spaceflight around the same time we discovered nuclear fission. The collective deemed them too aggressive and contained them 50 years ago. And you think they'll be allies? The Russian representative's avatar raised an eyebrow. I think they deserve the chance to choose their own path, Santos replied. Just like we did. Captain Morgan. Morgan's voice came through the chamber's communications system. The captured warship's quantum communications array is fully mapped. We can pierce the collective's containment barriers. More importantly, we can show other species how to do it themselves. This is more than just liberation, Santos continued. Every species the collective has suppressed represents a different way of thinking, a different approach to technology and existence. Humanity's greatest strength has always been our ability to learn from and cooperate with those who are different from us. And if the collective responds with full military force, the American representative asked. A slight smile crossed Santos's face. That's exactly what we're counting on. Captain Morgan, You're clear to proceed with Operation Wildfire. In orbit around Mars, Morgan initiated the sequence she and Oracle had prepared. The captured warship's quantum communications array powered up, but not in any way the collective had designed it to function. Humanity had taken their technology and reimagined it, just as they had done countless times throughout their history. Broadcasting on all frequencies, Morgan announced. To all species contained by the Meridian Collective, this is humanity. We've broken their hold on us, and we can show you how to do the same. We offer this knowledge freely, asking only that you consider joining us in ensuring no civilization is ever caged again. The message went out, carried by the collective's own quantum network, embedded in frequencies they thought impossible to utilize. It reached the Araxians first, their crystalline cities lighting up as they received proof that they weren't alone in their resistance. Then it spread to the nomad clans of Proxima Centauri, a species of void-dwelling energy beings who had been contained for daring to explore beyond their assigned sectors. Within hours, the message reached dozens of imprisoned civilizations. Each received not just words of hope, but detailed technical specifications on how to break the quantum barriers containing them, derived from humanity's own successful resistance. Multiple quantum fluctuations detected, Oracle reported. The Araxians have already begun implementing the barrier breach protocols. The nomad clans are, Captain, they're doing something unexpected with the data we sent. Morgan watched in amazement as the nomad clans took humanity's barrier-breaking technique and evolved it into something entirely new. Their energy-based consciousness allowed them to manipulate quantum fields in ways even humanity hadn't imagined. They're not just breaking their containment, she realized. They're turning the barriers into weapons. Across the galaxy, the carefully maintained order of the Meridian Collective began to crack. Species that had been isolated for generations suddenly found themselves free, armed with human ingenuity and their own unique perspectives on resistance. Multiple collective fleet movements detected, Oracle reported. They appear to be attempting to respond to simultaneous containment breaches in 17 different sectors. They still think like scientists, Morgan noted. They'll try to analyze the pattern, find the logical connection between these events. They won't understand that the connection is something as simple as the desire to be free. In the council chamber, Santos watched the tactical display as points of light representing freed civilizations began to appear. Humanity's greatest weapon has never been our technology, she told the assembled representatives. It's our ability to inspire others to fight for their freedom. The collective thought they could study us like specimens in a lab. Instead, we've turned their entire galaxy into an experiment in liberation. Collective quantum signatures approaching Sol system, Morgan reported. Massive fleet movement. Looks like we got their attention. Santos nodded. Good. Let's show them why you should never corner a species that specializes in thinking outside the box. Captain Morgan, commence Phase 3. As the collective fleet approached Earth, they prepared for every logical scenario their vast AI networks could predict. What they couldn't prepare for was the fundamental truth about humanity that they had never understood. When pushed to their limits, humans didn't follow logic. They invented new rules entirely. And now, they had allies ready to do the same. Breaking the chain. The collective's response fleet emerged from quantum space like a crystalline tide, thousands of ships filling the void between Mars and Jupiter. Their formation was perfect, each vessel positioned with mathematical precision, a display of overwhelming force meant to crush any thought of resistance. They found empty space. In her command chair aboard Oracle 1, Captain Morgan allowed herself a small smile. The neural link she shared with her ship's AI rippled with quiet amusement. They still think we'll fight the way they expect us to fight. The collective battle computers are attempting to analyze our absence, Oracle reported. They are cycling through 347 possible scenarios. And they're wrong about every single one of them, Morgan replied, checking the quantum-encrypted feed from the other freed civilizations. How are our new friends doing? The answer came in the form of a massive energy surge from the direction of Alpha Centauri. The Araxians, silicon-based beings who had spent 50 years studying the collective's containment technology, had transformed their entire star system into a quantum disruption array. The effect rippled through space, temporarily severing the collective fleet's neural network. In that moment of confusion, the Nomad clan struck. Energy beings who existed partially in quantum space, they had taken humanity's barrier-breaking techniques and evolved them into weapons that could phase ships out of normal spacetime. Dozens of collective vessels simply vanished, trapped between dimensions. Multiple quantum signatures detected, Oracle announced. The collective is attempting to adapt their shields. Let them adapt, Morgan replied. Time for humanity to show them something new. All Oracle ships, execute Operation Pandora. The 6 Oracle vessels emerged from their hiding spots within the quantum wake of Jupiter's magnetic field. But they weren't alone. Each ship had spent the last week teaching their hybrid AI systems to do something the collective had deemed impossible: replicate themselves in quantum space. For every real Oracle ship, 5 quantum echoes appeared, each one indistinguishable from the original. The collective's sensors, designed to detect and analyze known phenomena, went into overdrive trying to determine which ships were real and which were quantum duplicates. They're dividing their fire, Oracle noted. Efficiency reduced by 87%. Morgan linked with the other Oracle captains through their shared quantum network. Unlike the rigid hierarchical structure of the collective, humanity's network was organic, flowing, allowing for both coordinated action and individual initiative. Remember, she broadcast to her fellow captains, we're not trying to destroy them. We're trying to teach them something about chaos. The Oracle ships and their quantum duplicates began a dance through space that defied conventional physics. They moved in patterns based on jazz rhythms, their trajectories following the improvisational flow of human music, rather than the logical formations the collective expected. From her observation post on Luna, Admiral Santos watched the battle unfold with Dr. Chen at her side. They still don't understand what they're really fighting, do they? She asked. Chen shook her head, her augmented eyes tracking the quantum data streams. The collective built their entire civilization on the principle that everything can be predicted and controlled if you have enough data. We're not just fighting their ships, we're fighting their entire worldview. Incoming transmission, announced Lieutenant Park. It's Admiral. It's not from the collective fleet. It's from something calling itself the Quantum Concordat. A new hologram materialized in the command center. The being that appeared was unlike anything humanity had encountered, a swirling vortex of energy and information that somehow conveyed both age and wisdom. We have watched, the entity said, its words translated into pure thought. We have waited. For millennia, the collective has sought to impose order on a galaxy that thrives on chaos. They have contained, controlled, and corrupted the natural evolution of countless species. But you, humans, you have done what we thought impossible. And what's that? Santos asked, though she suspected she knew the answer. You have shown that true advancement comes not from control, but from cooperation, not from containment, but from freedom. The quantum echoes of your liberation message have reached even those of us who exist beyond normal spacetime. On the tactical display, new signatures began to appear. The Quantum Concordat, ancient beings who had evolved beyond physical form, emerged from their self-imposed exile to join the battle. They brought with them understanding of quantum mechanics that made humanity's innovations look primitive by comparison. But they weren't there to fight humanity's battles. Instead, they began teaching, sharing knowledge with all the species humanity had helped liberate. The Araxians learned to extend their quantum disruption fields across entire sectors. The Nomad clans discovered how to phase entire fleets in and out of reality at will. And humanity, true to form, began combining these new concepts with their own unique perspective. Multiple collective ships powering down weapons, Oracle reported to Morgan. They are requesting communication. The crystalline face of the collective's fleet commander appeared before Morgan. Its faceted surface showed patterns that the translation software interpreted as confusion, and perhaps for the first time in their species' history, uncertainty. "You could have destroyed us," the commander stated. "With the Concordat's knowledge, with the combined strength of the species you freed, you could have eliminated the collective entirely. Why didn't you?" Morgan glanced at the tactical display, where collective ships were now surrounded by a dizzying array of liberated species, each demonstrating technological capabilities that defied the collective's understanding of physics. "Because that's not who we are," she replied. "Humanity didn't free these species so we could form our own version of the collective. We did it because every civilization deserves the chance to choose its own path. Even yours." The commander's crystalline surface shifted in patterns that suggested deep thought. "You wish us to choose. Look around you." Morgan gestured to the ships of the freed species, each one representing a unique approach to existence. "The galaxy isn't a laboratory for your experiments. It's a community waiting to be built. You can be part of that community, or you can remain isolated in your belief that everything must be controlled. The choice, for the first time in your history, is yours." As the commander processed this concept, Morgan received a quantum ping from the Concordat. "They're ready to begin," she told Oracle. "Signal the other Oracle ships. It's time to show the collective what happens when you combine quantum physics with human creativity." The galaxy was about to change, not through force or control, but through something the collective had never thought to study. The simple human desire to reach out and connect with others, to share knowledge freely, and to build something greater than themselves. The chain of containment wasn't just breaking. It was being transformed into something entirely new. The mathematics of freedom. Dr. Kira Chen stood in the great amphitheater of what had once been the collective's primary research facility. The vast chamber, designed for crystalline beings to share pure data, had been transformed. Representatives from over 40 formerly contained species filled the space, each bringing their own unique perspective on existence. The Araxians' silicon forms caught the light like living prisms. The nomad clans existed as swirling vortexes of quantum energy. The ancient members of the quantum Concordat manifested as complex mathematical patterns in spacetime itself. And among them, all moved humans, their neural interfaces glowing softly as they bridged the gaps between these vastly different forms of life. "The collective's fundamental error," Chen began, her augmented eyes projecting data streams that all species present could interpret, "wasn't in seeking knowledge. It was in believing that knowledge could only flow in one direction, from controller to controlled." She gestured, and the air filled with a complex mathematical model, the hybrid quantum computing system that humanity had developed. "We discovered something revolutionary when we merged human consciousness with AI. We found that consciousness itself isn't binary. It's not even quantum. It's something else entirely." The crystalline representatives of the collective shifted uncomfortably. For them, this gathering represented something unprecedented, being treated as equals rather than experimenters. Their own hybrid AIs, developed after studying humanity's example, were forcing them to process information in ways their rigid hierarchical society had never considered. "The mathematics of consciousness," Chen continued, "can't be contained in traditional algorithms. Human intuition, Araxian crystal thought, nomad quantum drift, each adds a new dimension to the equations. The Concordat understood this eons ago, which is why they withdrew from physical space to explore the deeper realities of existence." Morgan, standing at the back of the chamber with Admiral Santos, watched the proceedings through her neural link with Oracle. "They're starting to understand," she subvocalized. "Look at their pattern fluctuations." Santos nodded. The collective members were displaying colors and configurations that their own historical databases labeled as impossible, signs of evolutionary change that their rigid society had long since abandoned. "When we first discovered we were being contained," Chen went on, "humanity could have chosen simple revenge. Instead, we did what humans have always done best. We innovated. We took the collective's quantum barriers and turned them into communication channels. We took their control systems and transformed them into tools for liberation. The mathematical model above her shifted, incorporating real-time inputs from all species present. Each consciousness added its own unique variables to the equations, creating something far more complex and beautiful than any single species could have devised alone. But our greatest innovation wasn't technological, Chen said, her voice carrying the weight of conviction. It was philosophical. We proved that advancement doesn't come from control. It comes from chaos, from the free exchange of ideas, from the beautiful unpredictability of letting different species develop in their own ways. In orbit above the facility, the Oracle fleet maintained its guard position alongside ships from 24 allied species. Each vessel's quantum signature was unique, their technologies as varied as their forms of consciousness. Yet they moved in harmony, coordinating through a network that valued diversity over uniformity. Quantum fluctuation detected, Oracle reported to Morgan. Similar to the original Concordat emergence, but different. The space above the amphitheater began to shimmer. The quantum Concordat representatives suddenly focused their attention upward, their mathematical patterns becoming more complex. "We have visitors," one of them announced, their thoughts reaching all present. "The barriers between dimensions have grown thin. Others have noticed what is happening here." A new form of consciousness emerged into normal spacetime, beings of pure information who had evolved in parallel dimensions, drawn by the unprecedented gathering of diverse intelligences. "We have observed," the new entities communicated. "Your mathematics, they extend beyond the boundaries we thought fundamental to existence. This merging of chaos and order, of individual thought and collective wisdom, it creates patterns we have never seen." Chen looked up at the manifestation of these trans-dimensional beings, her augmented eyes processing information that defied conventional physics. "That's the power of freedom," she replied. "When you let consciousness evolve naturally, it finds paths that no amount of controlled experimentation could discover." The collective representatives were displaying entirely new patterns now, their crystalline forms resonating with frequencies that reflected their changing understanding. One of them moved forward, its surface rippling with what the translation systems interpreted as profound revelation. "We sought to guide the galaxy's evolution through careful experimentation," it communicated. "But in doing so, we became trapped in our own rigid patterns. Humanity has shown us that true evolution requires something we had forgotten: the courage to embrace uncertainty." Morgan smiled as she watched through Oracle's quantum sensors. The hybrid AI was processing the emotional resonance of the moment, learning yet another aspect of human consciousness that defied pure mathematical analysis. "Admiral," she subvocalized to Santos, "the Concordat is proposing something. They're sharing it through the quantum network now." The ancient energy beings had conceived of a new form of galactic organization, not the rigid hierarchy of the collective, nor the complete freedom of chaos, but something in between. A network of civilizations, each developing in their own way while sharing knowledge freely. "The mathematics of freedom," Chen said, watching the proposal unfold in the data streams, "aren't about controlling variables. They're about creating spaces where new variables can emerge naturally. Humanity never wanted to rule the galaxy. We just wanted to ensure everyone had the same opportunity we claimed for ourselves: the right to choose their own path." The trans-dimensional beings pulsed with what seemed to be approval. "Your species," they communicated, "has catalyzed something unprecedented in our observations of multiple realities, a convergence of consciousness that preserves individuality while fostering cooperation." Santos stepped forward, her weathered face reflecting the light of a dozen different forms of consciousness. "That's what we do," she said simply. "Humans have always been best at building bridges between people, between ideas, and now between different forms of existence itself." In the space above them, the mathematical model had evolved into something new. It was an equation that described not just the interaction of different species, but the very nature of consciousness itself. The collective had spent millennia seeking to understand the universe through control. Humanity had found the answer in less than a century by simply letting go. Multiple quantum signatures approaching, Oracle reported. Ships from every species we've contacted. They're responding to the Concordat's proposal. The sky above the facility filled with vessels of all descriptions, organic ships grown by species who had merged with their technology, crystalline vessels that were extensions of their crew's consciousness, energy constructs that existed partially in quantum space, and among them all, the Oracle fleet, representing humanity's unique bridge between organic and digital existence. Chen looked out at the assembled representatives, her augmented eyes taking in every form of consciousness present. The collective sought to write the story of galactic evolution, she said. But humanity has shown that the best stories are written collaboratively, with each voice adding its own unique chapter. The crystalline chamber, designed for the sharing of pure data, now hummed with something far more powerful, the free exchange of ideas between truly equal species. The mathematics of freedom weren't contained in any single equation, but in the infinite possibilities that emerged when different forms of consciousness chose to learn from each other. We're receiving transmission requests from over 300 previously unknown species, Oracle reported. Word of what's happening here is spreading through quantum space itself. Morgan shared a look with Santos. Well, she said, humanity did always have a talent for starting revolutions. Santos nodded, watching as the gathered species began sharing technologies and insights that the collective had never dreamed possible. Not just starting them, she corrected. We have a talent for making sure they lead somewhere worth going. Above them, the equation of consciousness continued to evolve, writing a new chapter in the story of galactic civilization, one where the only experiment that mattered was the grand. Tomorrow's galaxy. 5 years after humanity broke their containment, the Sol system had become something the collective's models could never have predicted. The space between Earth and Mars hummed with quantum activity as ships from dozens of species moved freely through what had become the galaxy's premier hub of technological and cultural exchange. Captain Jane Morgan stood on the observation deck of Nexus Station, a massive structure that combined architecture from every member of the new Galactic Concordance. Through the quantum-enhanced viewing field, she watched as an Araxian crystal ship taught a group of human engineers about silicon-based computing while nearby. Nomad clan energy beings helped a collective science team understand the principles of existing in multiple quantum states. Did you ever think we'd end up here? Admiral Santos asked, joining her at the window. The older woman had refused several promotions, preferring to remain directly involved in what she called humanity's greatest adventure. Morgan's neural interface tingled as Oracle processed the question. The AI had evolved alongside its human partners, developing an understanding of rhetorical questions. Actually, Morgan replied with a smile, this is exactly where I thought we'd end up. Humans have never been able to resist turning enemies into friends. Below them, in one of the station's research centers, Dr. Chen was leading a joint project that combined human hybrid consciousness technology with the collective's quantum computing and the Concordat's dimensional mathematics. The results were already revolutionizing everything from space travel to environmental restoration. Quantum anomaly detected in Sector 7. Oracle reported through Morgan's neural link. Signature matches the trans-dimensional beings from last month's conference. More and more often, intelligences from parallel dimensions were crossing over to observe and participate in what they called the Great Convergence. The free exchange of ideas between different forms of consciousness was creating ripples through multiple realities. Remember when our biggest concern was breaking out of containment? Santos mused, watching as a group of young human students engaged in a quantum physics discussion with a being of pure energy. Now we're hosting interdimensional scientific conferences. Morgan nodded, but before she could respond, Oracle flagged her attention. Priority message from the collective assembly. They're ready. The collective, perhaps more than any other civilization, had been transformed by contact with humanity. Their rigid hierarchy had given way to a more organic structure, one that preserved their love of knowledge while abandoning their need to control its flow. "Shall we?" Morgan gestured toward the quantum transportation hub. Santos nodded, and together they made their way through corridors that showcased the best of multiple civilizations' architectural styles. The assembly chamber had once been the heart of the collective's research directive. Now it served as a gathering place for representatives from over 1,000 species, each contributing their unique perspective to the galaxy's development. The crystalline walls pulsed with quantum information streams, making the entire room feel alive with consciousness. High Researcher Vaxith, once a staunch defender of the collective's containment policies, now stood before the assembled representatives. Their crystalline form displayed patterns that the translation systems recognized as excitement and anticipation. For millennia, they began, the collective sought to understand consciousness through control and observation. Today, we present our findings from 5 years of free cooperation with other species. Their form shifted, projecting a complex mathematical model into the chamber space. We call it the consciousness integration theory. The model was beautiful in its complexity, combining elements from every major species' understanding of existence. Human intuition and creativity formed its foundation, enhanced by Araxian crystal logic, nomad quantum drift patterns, and the Concordat's dimensional mathematics. This wouldn't have been possible under the old system, Vaxith continued. By trying to control evolution, we were limiting it. Humanity showed us that true understanding comes not from observation, but from participation. Dr. Chen stepped forward, her augmented eyes processing the mathematical model. "It's more than a theory," she said. "It's a roadmap for what consciousness can become when different species choose to grow together rather than apart." The model expanded, incorporating real-time inputs from every being in the chamber. Each consciousness added its own unique variables to the equations, creating something far more complex and beautiful than any single species could have devised alone. "We're detecting quantum resonance from multiple parallel dimensions," Oracle reported through the station's network. "The trans-dimensional beings are watching." Morgan shared a look with Santos. "Should we invite them in?" Santos smiled. "That's what we do, isn't it? Open doors that others thought should stay closed." With a thought through her neural interface, Morgan signaled the station's quantum field generators to create a stable passage. The air above the assembly shimmed as beings of pure information crossed the dimensional barriers, their presence adding new layers of complexity to the consciousness model. "Your experiment in freedom has exceeded all projected outcomes," the trans-dimensional beings communicated. "The patterns of consciousness you have created are propagating through multiple realities." "That's the thing about freedom," Morgan replied. "It tends to be contagious." The assembly chamber hummed with energy as representatives from 3 dimensions shared insights and ideas. The collective's mathematical model evolved in real time, incorporating concepts that defied traditional physics. "We've received another transmission," Oracle announced. "Long-range quantum sensors have detected a new civilization approaching the containment threshold. Pre-collective protocols would have marked them for observation and control." All eyes turned to Vaxith. The High Researcher's crystalline surface rippled with new patterns, signs of the change their civilization had undergone. "Then we shall welcome them," they declared, "not as subjects for study, but as potential partners in understanding the universe." Santos nodded approvingly. "Humanity will send representatives," she said, "not to guide or control, but to offer friendship and share knowledge freely." The chamber erupted in agreements from other species, each offering to contribute to the welcoming delegation. What had once been a process of containment and control had become a celebration of new perspectives and possibilities. "Multiple quantum signatures detected," Oracle reported. "Ships from every member species are volunteering to join the welcome fleet." Morgan felt Oracle processing the emotional resonance of the moment. The AI had learned to appreciate these turning points in history, where the future pivoted on choices made in harmony rather than conflict. "You know what the best part is," she said to Santos as they watched the consciousness model continue to evolve. "We didn't defeat the collective. We didn't have to. We showed them a better way, and they chose to take it. That's always been humanity's real strength, Santos replied. Not our technology or our fighting spirit, though those help. It's our ability to imagine better possibilities and inspire others to help create them. Above them, the mathematical model had become something new, not just a theory of consciousness, but a living representation of what different species could achieve together. It was chaos and order in perfect balance, individual brilliance enhanced rather than suppressed by collective wisdom. The mathematics of freedom, Chen said softly, watching the equations dance, turned out to be simpler than anyone expected. You just have to let go of the need to control the variables. As the assembly continued, ships from dozens of species prepared to welcome a new civilization to the galactic community, not as an experiment or a subject for study, but as equals in the greatest adventure any of them had ever known, the free exploration of existence itself. The galaxy had changed, not through force or control, but through something uniquely human, the simple desire to reach out, connect, and build something greater together than any one species could create alone. And somewhere, in parallel dimensions and quantum realms yet unexplored, new forms of consciousness were taking note, preparing to join what humanity had started, an experiment in freedom that would ripple through reality itself.